So, you're planning your next European adventure. Hold on a second. Before you get too excited, there's something you really need to know. You might imagine yourself strolling through quaint streets, soaking in all that history and culture. But the reality could be way different. I'm talking about crowds, big ones. Today we're going to talk about the 8 European cities that are seriously struggling with over-tourism. And trust me, you'll want to hear why these spots might not be the best choice for your next trip. Plus, I've got some alternative destinations that are just as amazing, but without the crazy crowds. The last 2 locations are the best. You do not want to miss them. Let's get into it. Location 1. Dublin, Ireland. Dublin, the heart and soul of Ireland. It's got everything: history, culture, that lively pub scene. But here's the thing. Dublin's become a bit too popular for its own good. Lately, it feels like everyone and their dog wants to visit, and the city is starting to buckle under the pressure. Trinity College? Packed. Temple Bar? You can barely move. It's not exactly the relaxed Irish vibe you're hoping for. Now, don't get me wrong. Dublin is still an incredible city with so much to offer. But if you're not careful about when you go, you might end up spending more time navigating crowds than actually enjoying the sights. How to beat the crowds. If you're dead set on visiting Dublin, try to go during the shoulder seasons like late spring or early fall. The weather's still nice, but the crowds have thinned out. You'll have a much better chance of soaking in the atmosphere without feeling like you're in a packed concert. And while you're there, try to get off the beaten path a bit. Sure, Temple Bar is iconic, but there are other parts of Dublin that are just as charming without the tourist overload. Or better yet, why not check out Cork or Galway instead? Cork's got a killer food scene and a rich history, minus the shoulder-to-shoulder crowds. You can wander through the English market, sample local cheeses, and maybe even catch some live music. And Galway? It's all about that artistic atmosphere and beautiful coastal views. It's a bit more laid back, and you'll find plenty of traditional Irish culture without the throngs of tourists. Both are solid options if you want a more relaxed Irish experience. Dublin's packed streets might be a headache, but wait until you hear about the next city on our list. Location 2. Venice, Italy. Venice. Just saying the name makes you think of romance, right? Those winding canals, the historic bridges, the gondolas. But here's the truth. Venice is drowning in tourists. I'm not even kidding. There are more visitors than locals on any given day. And that charming little gondola ride? It's turned into a bit of a tourist traffic jam. Now, Venice is one of those places that's hard to resist. It's like nowhere else on Earth, with its unique blend of history, art, and culture all packed into this tiny floating city. But the sheer number of tourists is taking its toll. The narrow streets get so congested that it's hard to move, and the crowds can really detract from the city's magic. How to enjoy Venice without the madness. If Venice is a must-see for you, try visiting super early in the morning or late in the evening. That's when most of the day trippers have cleared out, and you can actually enjoy the city without feeling claustrophobic. Early morning Venice is something special. Watching the sunrise over the Grand Canal with hardly anyone around is a memory you'll never forget. Also, check out some of the less popular islands in the Venetian lagoon like Burano or Torcello. Burano's known for its colorful houses and lace making, and Torcello has this really old Byzantine cathedral that's super cool and way less crowded. These islands offer a different, quieter side of Venice that most tourists never see. Or if you're up for something different, head over to Verona or Bologna. Verona's got that whole Romeo and Juliet vibe, and Bologna is a food lover's paradise with way fewer tourists. Both cities offer rich history and culture without the overwhelming crowds, making them perfect alternatives. Venice might be a tourist trap, but the next destination on our list has a whole different level of crowding. Location 3, Amalfi Coast, Italy. The Amalfi Coast. It's like a postcard come to life. Those dramatic cliffs, the blue waters, the charming little villages. But here's the catch. It's become a total tourist magnet. In the summer, the narrow roads are jammed with cars and buses, and the towns are swarming with visitors. It's beautiful, sure, but it's also a bit of a madhouse. The thing about the Amalfi Coast is that it's almost too beautiful for its own good. Places like Positano and Amalfi have been drawing tourists for decades, and it's easy to see why. But the sheer volume of visitors, especially during peak season, can make it tough to truly appreciate what these places have to offer. The charm of those picturesque streets and stunning views can get lost in the hustle and bustle. When and where to go? To see the Amalfi coast without losing your sanity, try visiting in the spring or fall. The weather's still great, but you'll avoid the summer rush. You'll have a much better chance to explore at your own pace and actually enjoy the beauty around you. If you're determined to visit during the summer, try to stay in one of the smaller, less touristy towns like Atrani or Praiano. They're just as beautiful, but much quieter. But if you want the same stunning scenery with way fewer people, check out the Salento coast. It's just down the road and has the same Italian charm, but with a much more relaxed vibe. Towns like Castellabate and Acciaroli are hidden gems that give you that authentic Italian experience without the tourist overload. Another option is the Aeolian Islands off Sicily. Gorgeous volcanic landscapes and crystal clear waters, and way less crowded. These islands are a bit more off the beaten path, which means you can enjoy all the natural beauty and charm without feeling like you're in a tourist hotspot. The Amalfi Coast is stunning, no doubt, but the next place on our list? Let's just say it's overrun with tourists. Location 4, Barcelona, Spain. Barcelona. This city's got it all. Gaudi's mind-blowing architecture, beaches, nightlife. It's no wonder everyone wants to visit. But the problem is, everyone really does want to visit. In recent years, Barcelona has become a victim of its own popularity. Places like the Gothic Quarter are just wall-to-wall tourists, making it hard for locals to even get around, let alone for you to enjoy the place. Barcelona is one of those cities that feels alive 24/7. There's always something happening, and it's a place where you can really feel the pulse of the culture. But the downside to that is the crowds. It can be tough to find a quiet moment in a city that's always buzzing with activity, especially in the popular tourist areas. How to see the real Barcelona? To avoid the madness, think about going in the off-season. Late winter or early spring is perfect. The weather's still pretty mild, and the crowds are much smaller. Plus, Barcelona in the off-season has a bit of a different vibe. Less hustle, more relaxed, and you can actually enjoy the city's beauty without feeling rushed. And instead of sticking to the typical tourist spots, why not explore neighborhoods like Gracia or Poblesec? Gracia used to be its own little village, and it's kept that laid-back, bohemian vibe. Narrow streets, quirky shops, cozy cafes. It's a totally different side of Barcelona. Poblesec is another great area, especially if you're into food. The tapas bars there are legit, and you won't be fighting through crowds to get to them. Plus, you'll get to experience a more authentic side of the city, away from the main tourist drag. If you're up for an alternative city altogether, Valencia's got you covered. It's got beaches, history, and an awesome cultural scene, but with way fewer tourists than Barcelona. Plus, Valencia's mix of modern architecture and historic sites gives it a unique vibe that's definitely worth checking out. Barcelona's crowded streets might make you second-guess your visit, but wait until you hear about the next city. It's on a whole different level. Location 5, Paris, France. Paris, the city of light, romance, art, history, and tourists. Lots and lots of tourists. The Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, Notre Dame. These spots are on everyone's bucket list, which means they're packed. The line to get up the Eiffel Tower? It can take hours. And the Louvre? Good luck getting close to the Mona Lisa with all those selfie sticks in your face. Paris is the kind of place that feels almost mythical. There's so much history and culture packed into every corner that it's easy to see why people flock here from all over the world. But that popularity comes at a price. The crowds can make it hard to really connect with the city, and you might find yourself spending more time waiting in lines than actually enjoying the sights. How to do Paris right. If you want to enjoy Paris without the crush of people, try visiting in the winter. Sure, it's colder, but the city's all decked out for the holidays, and the crowds are way smaller. Plus, There's nothing like sipping hot chocolate in a cozy Parisian cafe while it's chilly outside. And Paris in the winter has a certain charm that you just don't get in the summer. It feels more intimate, more like the Paris you've always imagined. For a different take on Paris, check out some of the lesser-known spots like the Musée Rodin, which is dedicated to the sculptor Auguste Rodin and has a gorgeous garden. It's a much quieter spot, and you can really take your time exploring without feeling rushed. Or take a stroll along the Canal Saint-Martin, much quieter than the Seine and lined with cool cafes and boutiques. It's a great place to relax and soak in the atmosphere away from the main tourist spots. If Paris sounds like too much, why not head to Lyon instead? It's France's food capital with a rich history, beautiful old town, and way fewer tourists. Lyon has all the charm of Paris, but on a smaller, more manageable scale. Plus, the food scene there is incredible, so you definitely won't be missing out. Paris might be one of the world's most popular cities, but it's got nothing on the next spot when it comes to crowds. Location 6. Dubrovnik, Croatia. Dubrovnik. This place looks like it's straight out of a fantasy novel. And if you're a Game of Thrones fan, you probably recognize it as King's Landing. But here's the thing. That fame has brought a tidal wave of tourists, and the city's small old town is really feeling the strain. In the summer, it's wall-to-wall people, and the charm of those ancient streets gets lost in the shuffle. Dubrovnik is one of those places that's almost too perfect. The medieval walls, the crystal-clear waters, the stunning views. It's no wonder everyone wants to visit. But the city's popularity, especially after Game of Thrones, has turned it into a bit of a tourist circus. The narrow streets get so packed that it's hard to move, let alone appreciate the beauty around you. How to enjoy Dubrovnik. To experience Dubrovnik without feeling like you're in a sardine can, consider visiting in the early spring or late autumn. The weather's still pleasant, and the crowds have died down significantly. Plus, visiting in the off-season means you'll get to see a more authentic side of Dubrovnik, without all the touristy frills. Or spend time in lesser-known parts of the city like Lapad. It's got some beautiful beaches and stunning views of the Adriatic, but without the crazy crowds. Lapad is a bit more laid back and gives you the chance to relax and enjoy the natural beauty of the area. If you're up for exploring another Croatian city, Split is a fantastic alternative. It's got its own historic charm with Diocletian's Palace, gorgeous beaches, and a more laid-back vibe compared to Dubrovnik. Plus, Split is a bit bigger, so it doesn't feel as cramped when the tourists come in. Dubrovnik might be bursting with tourists, but the next city on our list is just as crowded, if not more. Location 7. Amsterdam, the Netherlands. Amsterdam. Those canals, the historic houses, the museums. It's no wonder this city is a top destination. But with its popularity comes a big problem. Overtourism. Millions of visitors flood Amsterdam's narrow streets every year, especially in the city center. It can feel like you're constantly weaving through crowds, which takes away from the charm of this beautiful city. Amsterdam is one of those places that's almost too good to be true. The canals, the bicycles, the art. It's like something out of a storybook. But with so many people wanting to experience that magic, the city's started to feel a bit overwhelmed. The crowds can make it tough to really connect with the place, and it's easy to feel like you're just one of many tourists, rather than someone getting to know the city. How to experience Amsterdam. Peacefully. To dodge the biggest crowds, think about visiting in the winter. The canals are all lit up with festive lights, and the tourist numbers drop significantly. Amsterdam in winter is like something out of a fairy tale. It's cold, but the city has this warm, cozy vibe that's hard to resist. Plus, you'll have the chance to explore without constantly bumping into other people. Also, don't be afraid to stray from the usual spots. Neighborhoods like Jordan and De Pijp are fantastic and way less crowded. Jordan's got this really cozy, old-world feel with its narrow streets and boutique shops, while De Pijp is known for its vibrant markets and diverse food scene. Both neighborhoods offer a more authentic side of Amsterdam, where you can really get a feel for the local culture. If you want a similar vibe without all the tourists, check out Utrecht. It's got canals, historic charm, and a much more laid-back atmosphere. Utrecht is like Amsterdam's little sister, just as charming but without the tourist overload. It's a great place to explore if you want that quintessential Dutch experience without the crowds. Amsterdam is definitely busy, but it's nothing compared to our final stop, where crowds can really make or break your trip. Location 8, Athens, Greece. Athens, the birthplace of Western civilization. The Acropolis, ancient ruins, and history around every corner. It's an absolute must-see, but here's the catch. Everyone knows it. The city's central streets can be packed with tourists, especially during the summer. It's tough to appreciate the rich history when you're shoulder to shoulder with 100 other people trying to do the same thing. Athens is one of those cities that feels almost larger than life. Walking through the streets, you can really feel the weight of history around you. But with that history comes a lot of attention, and Athens has become one of Europe's top tourist destinations. The problem is, the city's infrastructure is struggling to keep up, and the experience can feel a bit overwhelming with so many people all trying to see the same sights. How to get the most out of Athens? To avoid the worst of the crowds, consider visiting Athens in the late autumn or early spring. The weather's still nice, but the number of tourists is significantly reduced. Plus, visiting outside of peak season means you'll have more time and space to really explore and appreciate all that Athens has to offer. And instead of sticking to the main tourist areas, check out neighborhoods like Koukaki. It's got a more local feel, with charming streets, cozy cafes, and killer views of the Acropolis. Koukaki is one of those places where you can really immerse yourself in the local culture without feeling like you're just part of the tourist crowd. For an alternative destination, consider the nearby island of Naxos. It's got ancient ruins, traditional villages, and stunning beaches, but with way fewer tourists. Naxos offers a more relaxed, authentic Greek experience, where you can enjoy the natural beauty and history without the hustle and bustle of Athens. Over-tourism is becoming a big issue in Europe's most popular destinations, but that doesn't mean you have to skip out on your dream trip. With a little planning, you can still experience the magic of Europe without the crowds. So before you book your next getaway, think about when and where you're going, and how you can make your trip not just enjoyable, but also sustainable. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.